I never thought I'd be the person hearing a private investigator to spy on my own flesh and blood. But when it comes to protecting the woman who gave you life, you do whatever it takes. For the last 2 years, my sister had completely cut me off from our elderly mother, changing her phone numbers, blocking me at the door, and slowly dripping poison into her ear until my mother looked at me like I was a total stranger. I knew something was wrong. I knew there was a dark motive behind her sudden devotion to caregiving, but nothing could have prepared me for the sickening truth the investigator finally uncovered. When the PI handed me the financial dossier showing a cool $200,000 sitting in my sister's newly opened offshore account, money that belonged to our mother's retirement fund, my blood turned to ice. Was I wrong for unleashing the full weight of the law on her and tearing our family apart at the seams? Or would you have done the exact same thing to save your parent from a predator wearing the face of a sibling? I want you to really think about that, because until you're forced to watch someone you love get financially and emotionally bled dry, you don't know the lengths you'll go to for justice. Let me take you back to how this nightmare actually started, because we weren't always a broken family. Growing up, my sister Sarah and I were reasonably close, though she always had a bit of an entitled streak, always expecting the biggest piece of the pie while doing the least amount of work to earn it. Our mother, Eleanor, was a saint of a woman who worked 2 jobs after our father passed away just to ensure we never went to bed hungry and that we both could afford to go to college. As Mom got older, she managed to secure a very comfortable nest egg through smart investments and a modest inheritance from our grandparents. She lived independently in her beautiful, paid-off suburban home, thriving in her garden and hosting Sunday dinners that brought us all together. I visited her twice a week, handled her grocery shopping, and made sure her lawn was mowed, while Sarah was usually too busy traveling or living beyond her means to check in more than once a month. Everything changed about 3 years ago when Mom suffered a mild stroke. It didn't completely incapacitate her, but it left her physically fragile and prone to moments of severe confusion and vulnerability. That was the exact moment Sarah suddenly transformed into the ultimate doting daughter, moving herself into Mom's house within 48 hours under the guise of wanting to provide round-the-clock care. At first, I was incredibly relieved and praised Sarah for stepping up, foolishly believing that crisis had finally brought out her hidden maturity. But within 3 months, the red flags started popping up like warning flares in a night sky. Every time I called the house, Sarah would answer and smoothly claim Mom was sleeping, resting, or in the bathroom, promising she would have her call me back, a call that never came. When I dropped by unannounced after work, Sarah would meet me on the porch, crossing her arms and whispering that Mom was having a highly anxious day and that seeing visitors would only agitate her further. I tried to be understanding of the caregiver stress, but the turning point came when I finally managed to slip past Sarah one afternoon and found my mother sitting in her favorite armchair, looking incredibly frail and deeply frightened. When I reached out to hug her, Mom flinched and asked why I had stopped loving her, weeping as she told me Sarah had explained how I was trying to declare her incompetent to steal her house and throw her into a cheap, state-run nursing home. I was absolutely horrified, shouting at Sarah right there in the living room, but Sarah calmly called the police, presenting a newly signed power of attorney document and claiming I was trespassing and harassing a vulnerable elder. The police, seeing a legally binding document and a highly agitated environment, politely but firmly asked me to leave the property to prevent further distress to my mother. That was the day the Iron Curtain fell completely. Sarah changed the locks, installed a high-tech security gate, blocked my number on Mom's cell phone, and sent me a formal cease and desist letter from a shady strip mall lawyer. For a whole year, I lived in a state of perpetual agony, unable to sleep, crying myself to sleep wondering if my mother was being fed, if she was clean, or if she truly believed I had abandoned her to the wolves. I called Adult Protective Services 3 separate times, but every time a caseworker visited, Sarah would present the immaculate, staged living room, show the signed medical directives, and Mom, thoroughly brainwashed and terrified of being taken away, would echo whatever script Sarah had drilled into her head. I felt completely helpless, watching my family legacy and my mother's safety vanish behind a wall of legal manipulation and psychological abuse. I knew deep down in my gut that Sarah wasn't doing this out of the goodness of her heart, because she had recently quit her job, but was somehow driving a brand new luxury SUV and taking expensive weekend getaways while leaving Mom with temporary cash-in-hand sitters. That is exactly when I realized that playing by the standard rules was getting me absolutely nowhere. And if I wanted to save my mother, I had to fight dirty and get undeniable, bulletproof proof of what was happening behind those closed doors. I emptied a significant portion of my own savings account and hired a high-end private investigation firm that specialized in elder financial abuse and asset protection. The lead investigator, a gruff ex-detective named Marcus, told me straight to my face that these cases are always messy, deeply personal, and often reveal things that permanently shatter families, asking me if I was truly ready to see what was behind the curtain. I told him I didn't care about the fallout anymore. I just wanted my mother back and safe from whoever was hurting her. Marcus and his team went to work immediately, setting up surveillance on the house, tracking Sarah's spending habits, digging into her credit history, and using legal subpoenas to look into any suspicious banking activity connected to my mother's estate. So that is the exact, agonizing situation I found myself trapped in, watching my sister systematically erase me from my mother's life, while seemingly draining her dry, leaving me with a choice between walking away to save my own sanity or risking everything to expose the truth. Before I tell you the absolutely explosive details of what the investigator found next, and how I orchestrated my final revenge, I want you to pause right now and comment below what you would have done if you were standing in my shoes. Would you have kept fighting against a legal power of attorney, or would the emotional toll have broken you? The breakthrough came after 6 weeks of intense surveillance, when Marcus called me into his office with a grim expression that told me everything I needed to know before he even opened his mouth. He slid a thick, manila folder across the desk, filled with bank statements, forged signatures, and a detailed tracking report of a newly established offshore bank account in the Cayman Islands under Sarah's sole name. It turned out Sarah had been systematically liquidating our mother's blue-chip stocks, taking out a massive second mortgage on the family home, and forging Mom's signature on checks disguised as generous gifts to her loving caregiver. The grand total that Sarah had managed to funnel out of our mother's life savings and into her secret account was a staggering $200,000, leaving Mom's primary bank account nearly overdrafted and unable to cover her upcoming medical insurance premiums. Sarah was literally planning to bleed our mother completely dry, default on the house, and leave Mom destitute the moment the money ran out, likely dumping her into a poorly rated facility once there was nothing left to steal. Armed with this absolute mountain of undeniable criminal evidence, I didn't waste a single second confronting Sarah privately, knowing she would just spin another web of lies or flee with the money. Instead, I coordinated a surprise sting with Marcus, a forensic accountant, a new elder law attorney, and the local police department's financial crimes unit. We waited until a Tuesday morning when we knew Sarah had scheduled a rare doctor's appointment for Mom, meaning they would both be out of the fortress house. When Sarah wheeled Mom out to her shiny new SUV, she found me standing there alongside 2 police cruisers and a detective holding a warrant for her arrest for grand theft, elder financial exploitation, and forgery. Sarah's face turned an unforgettable shade of ghostly white, her arrogant smirk vanishing instantly as the detective read her rights and slapped the handcuffs right onto her wrists in the middle of the driveway. Mom was deeply confused and started crying, but I rushed to her side, held her tightly, and showed her the actual bank documents, explaining softly and patiently exactly what Sarah had been doing to her finances. Seeing the cold, hard numbers and realizing her utilities were days away from being shut off finally broke the psychological spell Sarah had cast over her. With Sarah sitting in a county jail cell unable to afford her high bail, my attorney rushed an emergency petition to a judge successfully revoking Sarah's power of attorney and granting me full legal guardianship of my mother and her estate within 48 hours. We immediately froze the offshore account, and through intensive legal proceedings, we managed to recover about 85% of the stolen funds, using them to pay off the fraudulent second mortgage and secure Mom's financial future permanently. It has been a year since that chaotic day, And while the emotional scars are still healing, our lives have transformed completely for the better. My sister ended up taking a plea deal to avoid a lengthy, embarrassing trial and is currently serving a multi-year sentence in a state penitentiary, a consequence she fully earned through her greed and cruelty. My mother now lives with me in a beautiful, sunny guest suite in my home, surrounded by her beloved plants, and her memory and cognitive health have actually improved significantly now that the constant stress and isolation are gone. This horrific experience taught me that evil doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes, it hides behind the people who are supposed to love and protect you the most, and you can never afford to stay silent when your gut tells you something is wrong. If you think I did the right thing by putting my own sister behind bars to save our mother's life, please hit the like button right now to show your support. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more shocking, real-life family stories just like this one. And please share your final thoughts on this whole crazy mess in the comments section below because I read every single one of them. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Stay safe out there, and I will see you all in the next video.